Back to the Film Room Show. We're still breaking down the national semifinals. And in one semifinal, Michigan State takes on Duke. And let's take a look at what Duke needs to do to knock off the Michigan State Spartans.
Well, coaches, as you know, you've followed college basketball a long time. This is not your vintage Tom Izzo Michigan State team. 11 losses during the season. Beginning of the year, he was lamenting that this team was not tough enough. Didn't have that Tom Izzo toughness, as he likes to say. But he willed his team to get to this point. And Tom Izzo, as we all know, is one of the great tournament coaches of all time. And he got this team. You can see it, undersized, not a lot of star power out there on the floor, but they're built as one. He found a good rhythm, a good way to get this team going, not really with relentless defense, not with the great rebounders, but more of a speed game, more of a three-point shooting team. And as you see, this team does not wow you with All-Americans, but they have this team unity out there that's built with Tom Izzo. Stan, when you watched this team during the regular season, did you think they could get to this point? And how did they get to this point?
I did not. I'll be honest. I really didn't see it at all. Thought they had a solid basketball team that would do well. But as you just mentioned before, just the way they came together, the way Tom just tried to push them and prod them and get that toughness out of them. And really, you know, several guys just kind of stepped up and really took the leadership upon themselves to turn things on.
You know, coming into the season, Brandon Dawson, everyone thought he was going to be the key. And certainly when he was healthy and became healthy, and he is healthy this time of year, this is why they're in the Final Four, because of his senior leadership, his toughness, his relentlessness on the glass. You know, he kind of embodies what Tom Izzo has in the past, those guys that just go and attack, you know, put the football helmets on, go and get every offensive rebound. And you saw the big shot he made on the second attempt to seal the win in the Louisville game in the Final Eight. But the two key guys offensively, and how do you stop Travis Trice, the big shot maker, the big-time player, plays unselfishly as the two, as the one, can make shots in the middle of the floor, can get to the free throw line, wants to make deep threes, and also Denzel Valentine, the multi-talented, versatile player who great range, but also an unselfish passer. How do you stop those two guys, Anthony?
Well, I think, you know, when you look at Duke, arguably their guards, some of the best in the country, maybe, I think it's been talked about, maybe the best backcourt in the country. I think obviously when you talk about Trice, the ability to limit him in transition, and I think the other part of it is you got to be able to take away the three-point shot. So Duke's guards are going to have to do a great job of playing above the three-point line, hand the shooting pocket, making it difficult for him to beat him from the three-point line, forcing him to play inside the three-point line.
I think Trice has late been the difference maker for them. He's running this team, the ball's in his hands, his decision-making, his scoring the basketball. I think he's a big reason why, all of them, of course, but he's a big reason why, his improved play as to why they're in Indianapolis right now.
Well, there's no question you have to keep them off the glass. And again, you know, we talked about they're not that vintage Tom Izzo team, but again, you look at their numbers. They're relentless on the offensive boards. They're still plus on most of their opponents. In transition, since Tom put Tum Nairn in as the point guard, you know, he doesn't get great minutes at that spot, but he ignites their offense. He's a very good on-ball defender. He's tenacious at the top, and he really just kind of gives them that energy and allows Trice to free up off the ball. Now, they'll slide Trice back to the point most of the game, but I like that Nairn starts the game for them and can really ignite their transition. And I think their bigs are very underrated. You talk about Schilling, you talk about Costello. They're very physical. They're going to set a ton of ball screens. They're probably going to foul out of the game. They both, Schilling and Costello and Nairn, have all fouled out of numerous games this year. That's okay. Tom Izzo doesn't mind that because he wants that mindset of toughness on the inside. And then offensively, they're going to set a ton of ball screens and a lot of baseline and pin down screens for both Trice and Valentine. And again, the keys, keep them off the glass. We talked about slow the transition game down. They're going to get up, and they're going to get up on the glass, and they're going to get the ball in the air. They're going to run the numbered break, and they're going to send Trice down one wing and Valentine down another, and they're going to run them to the three-point line. And then, again, attack the bigs. I think their bigs are going to be physical. They're a little slow of foot, and they will get in foul trouble, so you can get to the free throw line. Any other keys in your mind?
Well, Tim, I think just going back to what you just said earlier about the transition game, I don't think Michigan State gets enough credit of how they really attack you in transition. I mean, they push the ball, and they're looking to get easy baskets or open shots 5 to 8 seconds within that shot clock.
Well, there's no question about that. And Stan, as you know, and all you coaches know as well, watching Tom's team over the years, he's got about 200 plays in his playbook, and he will adjust during the season and run different plays to the strength of his personnel. And that's the key to Tom Izzo's team, and that's no different in this team as well. Now, what he's done this year, I think, is very, very important, is he spaced the floor with his shooters, Trice and Valentine, but also use Valentine as a versatile point forward type. And I think the thing you have to do with Valentine is he's not a physical forward, but he's very skilled. So you've got to get up, deny him the ball, and really be physical with him on the perimeter, because not only is he's got deep range as a shooter, but he's also a very, very good passer, and they'll use him as a point forward. And you'll see that in this situation right here. They'll run a little shuffle cut out of the top, and they'll get it to Valentine, and they'll run him on a pick-and-roll play, and they'll send the guard through all the way to the corner just to space the floor. And really, they're playing 2-on-2 basketball, and as we move the play forward, how do you stop this play? They run Valentine to the top, they've got shooters in the corners, and they slide Dawson up to the top, and then they run the pick-and-roll down to the middle of the floor to Schilling.
Tim, what I think is what Duke has to do is, if it's Okafor guarding the screener, Jahlil Okafor is going to lateral hedge. He's going to be in the lane there. Coach Krzyzewski doesn't bring him up hard hedging on those ball screens. And I think Duke stays attached to the three-point shooter at the top of the screen in front of the bench up there. I think the help has to come, Anthony, from the guy on number 5 here at the bottom, helping on that role. But Okafor will lateral hedge. So for the most part, he'll still be in the lane.
And you see what happens here because of the fact that they'll get you in an isolation game with their shooters spaced out in the corner, and they'll play 2-on-2 basketball with Valentine because, obviously, as we just said, he's a great shooter and a great passer.
I think what Duke's got to look at doing is depending on who's in that ball screen, they're switching 1 through 4. If Okafor's involved in the ball screen, now what are the rotations? Do they fully rotate, which is what we call taking the guy that's on the perimeter from the wing and rotating him to the guy that's running to the perimeter so they can keep a body on the guy at the rim to prevent that easy layup, but also be able to guard the shooter coming out for the catch and shoot three.
I do think, though, Stan, we have to stay attached to the three-point shooter in front of the bench over there, because that's the guy that provides spacing for Michigan State's offense if, in fact, that's Bryn Forbes or one of those guys that could really shoot the basketball.
Now, here's the exact same play again, and Michigan defensively makes an adjustment. Now, they're going to drag off the weak side and give some help on the roll man. This is Costello in this situation, rolling down the middle of the floor. They use Valentine again. They shuffle cut the guard through to the corner, which is Ellis, and now they'll help off Ellis on the screen and the roll man here to take away the roll. But here, again, the versatility, the capability, and the vision and the skill of Valentine.
Tim, just freeze it right there, because I think this will be critical for Duke. What they've got to be able to do is they got to be connected with their ball screen defense. So right now, the defender for Michigan that's at the elbow, ball side elbow, or opposite elbow, right now he's got to do a good job of slowing down the Michigan State player that's rolling to the rim. The Michigan defender that's at the block, he's got to do a good job of plugging the basket and making sure that if they get a pass, it's got to be a pass, the furthest pass away. They've got to stay connected, ball side corner, and then they've got to be able to help each other inside on the perimeter, force Michigan State to kick out.
I think this is why Michigan State has been so successful offensively, because you've got great passer, great shooter, and now they're running a two-man game in the middle of the floor. So how do you defend this? And you see here, Michigan State takes advantage. Valentine does a nice job of reading the defense, and he sees the defense now helps in the middle of the floor. You see the defense attacks him on the ball screen. They give a little bit of help here. He can recover. They're helping on the roll man, but who's open? The man in the deep corner, because his man is helping on the roll. And what happens? Valentine finds him on the skip and on the attack, and they get the foul on the baseline. Maybe not a good call, but anyway. Now, again, another way Michigan State beats you. Everybody talks about their sets, but this time of year, they're really looking to run Tum Tum Nair in as the point guard. Off the foul line, make or miss. They are running an exact foul line break where they run to spots, they get the ball to Nair in the middle of the floor, and they attack really quickly. And you see it here. They outlet it, and then Nair on the speed dribble. They got Schilling rim running down the middle of the floor. They're going to run Valentine opposite, then another shooter down, Forbes down the right baseline. And watch Schilling as he rim runs. He sets a little screen on his man to free up help and allows Forbes to get right to the rim. here in transition. This is classic Michigan State basketball this year in transition.
Duke wants to play fast, but it's imperative that their transition defense is really good, because one of the ways, you were on Coach Izzo's staff, how much they emphasize getting out in transition, getting easy baskets before the defense is set.
Well, one thing that's important, I saw that last clip, we don't want to gamble and take ourselves out of defensive position. We want to make sure we get back, we get our defense set. If you're Duke and you stop the basketball right away and you match up to those shooters, there's also probably one or two players out there on the floor, whether it's Ellis or whether it's Tum Tum, that maybe you can help a little bit more off, you can sag off and really pack that lane in to protect against the lane runs.
Yeah, easier said than done when you deal with Michigan State. They're outstanding in transition.
Well, the big key, obviously, for Michigan State, I think, is slow them down, because they want to play fast. You've got to be physical with their guards. Their guards are smallish. And again, when Nairn's in the game, you can help off him, help a little bit, shade towards Valentine, shade toward Trice as well. And then Dawson, I think, is so important as just an all-around type player. Make sure that you take care of him on the backboards. Coach Heath, you're next up and running. You've got to talk about how Duke is going to be taken down by this Michigan State team.